Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Dr. Lopkin, actually a little more exciting week this week than the last previous two. One thing I thought was very interesting and noteworthy is the General Motors layoffs. I would like your take on this.
Yeah, GM hasn't been a well-run company in a long time. That's why
let me interject something. I would say, when you say long time, I mean you're going on, I know it sounds crazy, over 30 years. Oh, yeah.
I'll give you that. I can definitely say for the last 20, but it could be 30 already.
Yeah, I'm talking like in the 80s with every car was the same. They just, even longer. We'll go with 30. That's good enough.
But this move is actually the first smart thing they've done in quite a long time, because they can't keep turning out cars that nobody is buying. Mm-hmm. Millennials are now the largest generation in American history. Yes. And millennials are buying cars in much, much fewer numbers.
Yes, I've heard that, true.
Than past generations. On top of that, most people are assuming that the rise of autonomous cars, especially in urban areas, are going to cut car sales even more, because people are going to be using Uber and Lyft and things like that rather than owning their own car in an urban area. So you have all of these factors cutting into GM sales. They can't sustain the number of factories they have, the number of workers they have, when they're not selling the cars, and the prospects of selling those cars are going down.
Agree with that 1,000%. Yes. Now, are they cutting all their sedans?
I'm not sure if they're cutting all of them. They're cutting a large number of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't,
that's what I've heard.
And this isn't the first time a company's done this. Ford not too long ago, cut back. They're focusing on SUVs, trucks, and the Ford Focus, because that's because selling.
What happened is that the Japanese really own the sedan market. No one's buying, or foreign cars in general. American cars have lost that share of that sector of the market.
Right. Now, of course, Trump threw a temper tantrum. They're moving jobs overseas. They're not moving jobs overseas. These jobs are gone because nobody is buying the cars.
Yep, I would agree with that. Now, in some instances, some news sites are citing this as a indication of a downturn in the economy. I think that's a little bit of an overreach. What do you think?
It's definitely an overreach. Yes, the economy is slowing down. Why? Because we've been on an upturn for 10 years already. The fact of the matter is, without Trump's tax cuts and the stimulus that he's given to business, we would have had a downturn 2 years ago. So it's slowing. There is no sign that there's going to be a recession until at least 2020.
That's what I've heard as well. Yes, I heard that, yes, maybe slower growth, but still better growth than the Obama administration, and also strong hiring into the next couple of years as well. Do you hear the same thing?
Yes. In fact, GDP numbers came out today for the last quarter. It's 3.5%. So, yes, is it slower than the 4.2 it was previously? Yes. Is it much better than the Obama's 2.0? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. The other item in the news is the Mueller investigation. Maybe you could shed some light on that.
Yes, Mueller is claiming that Paul Manafort has gone back on their deal, and he is lying to Mueller about what went on. Now, of course, Mueller's lawyer has come out and said everything Mueller has said has been absolutely true, which raises the question, is Manafort actually lying to Mueller? Or is he just not telling Mueller what Mueller wants to hear?
I think it's the latter. I think the Mueller investigation, partisanship aside, is just, unless something monumental happens, it's kind of run its course.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats and Mueller made a big deal when Manafort cut his deal. He said, oh, Manafort is going to turn on Trump. He's going to tell everything. Well, Manafort is telling everything, and there's still nothing there, which aggravated Mueller to no end. He's claiming to want to pull out of the plea bargain and send Manafort to jail because Manafort is not telling him what Mueller expected to hear. Now, again,
I think Mueller is panicking. What do you think?
Yeah, just because Mueller's not hearing what he wanted to hear or expected to hear doesn't mean that what Mueller wants to hear actually happened. So
I understand that. Don't you think that Mueller is getting a little nervous that things are just, he doesn't want to report nothing.
No, he's indicted a whole bunch of people, all for things that took place outside of the Trump administration and had nothing to do with Trump. He expected these people to flip on Trump, or at least on members of the administration, and not one of them has flipped. Now, when you have that many people not flipping, you've either got the biggest organized crime syndicate since the Cosa Nostra, swearing everybody to secrecy, or the fact is there's nothing to flip on.
Yeah, I would say it's the latter, and I think that's interesting, and we'll see how it all plays out. When do you think he'll give his report?
I don't know when he's going to give his report. I think he's going to put it off as long as possible. I certainly think you're not going to see anything this year. He's going to want to wait till the Democrats take power in January. But
yeah, that would make sense, yes.
I think he's going to hold off on that report as long as possible to give him every chance to come up with something to save face.
I would agree with that, unfortunately. Now, on a much lighter note, I was looking at a news site, could have been Breitbart, and they were talking about the Clintons on a tour, not a stadium, but an arena tour. And they were at an event for, let's say, holds 18,000. They got like 2,000, and they couldn't even give tickets away for $6.99. Is a Clinton shtick over?
I don't think it's over, but this really doesn't surprise me. If you go back to the 2016 election, when Hillary held an event, she was holding them in gyms. She was holding them in very small venues where Trump was filling stadiums. The Clintons aren't a draw anymore. They weren't in 2016 already. People have heard everything that they have to say.
Do you think, just from a psychological perspective, I think it frustrates the heck out of them. I think they never got over, especially Hillary, that they lost. And I think it kills them. It would bother most people, but it kills them.
I don't know that it
bothers
Bill so much.
Hillary,
it's killing. But I honestly think Bill would be just fine going off, doing stuff with the Clinton Foundation and leaving all of this behind. Hillary keeps dragging him back in.
Well done. I agree with that 100%. And another great edition of Carnivore Bites, Dr. Lopkin.
Absolutely.
We'll do it next week.
All right. See you then.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Carnivore Radio's podcast. You can catch us here every week. Carnivore Radio is part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can listen to the podcast at blogtalkradio.com/Xvadio. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can listen to us live every Friday at 4 o'clock on WESU 88.1 Middletown, Connecticut. You can also catch us online at WESUFM.org. We look forward to hearing from you and see you next week.